Everybody, it is Wednesday night, 8 p.m. We do our Relationship Gumbo Podcast live show. I'm excited about tonight's topic. I'm glad everybody can make it out. And I appreciate you. I'm going to keep saying that. I appreciate the time that you take out to listen to your boy. So, I'm going to say welcome. Please let me know that you're here. Let me know that you are where you're chiming in from. I'm going to take about 15 seconds to try to make sure that everything pops up the way it's supposed to. And I will be right back on the other side of it.
This one for the streets that taught me lessons. Hey, they told me about the grief and people out here stressing. They told me how the evils wanna keep you from progressing. It's people in your circle wanna keep you from your blessing. No talking to them people when them people come with questions. This mama say no fretting. For them, death is destined. Be careful of the people you invest in.
And I am back. Welcome. We are going to start in a second here. This is a live podcast show. We're going to do some visual things because I am a visual coach, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But my name is Derek Jones, and I'm your host. And when we go into the podcast section, you'll get a little bit more depth. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a little bit about tonight's topic. Tonight's topic is don't put your love on a clearance rack, because we know that sometimes we cheapen the things that we should be holding near and dear, like our time and our emotions and our love. And we cheapen it sometimes because we get into a situation where we might be a little lonely. You know, we might feel like we need some attention because we don't know how to be by ourselves, right? So we cheapen it and we put it on the clearance rack. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to give you, we're just going to keep it rolling. I'm going to give you my visual approach that I call card logic. And this is where I use playing cards to give you a visual of how your mind works when you're in this situation of putting your love on a clearance rack, putting yourself on a clearance rack. So give me a second. I'm going to flip the camera and we're going to get right into it. I need you guys to pay very close attention to this because it's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see what this looks like. All right. We are back. So this is what I have. This is something that I created called Card Logic. It's a method by which we use a visual tool to show you how your mind works. So when we're talking about this particular topic, we are going to look at these cards like this. So the red deck is going to be, we're going to use a woman, right, in this particular case. So this red deck, we're going to put, and this will make sense to you in a minute. This is you, the woman, and we're going to represent you. I don't know if you guys can see that, as this queen, right? And we're going to keep these cards right here because these are the things that you're eventually going to transform into. But the one that you see is who you currently are, right? So you being represented as a queen, you have value, right? You have standards. You have qualifiers that people need to meet to gain and earn your time and your attention and your love and your emotions, right? And someone who has learned to be emotionally intelligent, they rest on the fact that they're proud that they're a queen. And they know that they may have to be by themselves for a while, and they're cool with that. And so what happens sometimes when this queen sits too long, and we're going to represent, what I'm going to show you here is going to be time. So each card I put out is going to be, and it's red because it's representing her time. This is 6 months. This is another 6 months. This is another 6 months. So now we're at 2 years, right? The black cards are going to represent the other women that she sees out here dating and being in relationships. So the value of this, I don't know if you can see it, but that's a 2. The 2 doesn't have as much value as the queen. And so what the queen is seeing out here in the world and on social media is this time going by. We're going to represent the other women, the other person that has cheapened themselves already with this time. So here's the 6 months right here for that person. Now this person, we're going to take it away because they've been chosen by someone and they're off the market. So she's still looking out here. Another 6 months go by. And she sees another 2 out here in the streets. and that person gets chosen. And I think I got these mixed up a little bit. This is probably it. So that's another 2. So now we add another 6 months. And this person gets chosen. And then we're at that same 2 years. And she has watched all of those different women get chosen with a lesser value. And she's like, wait a minute, what am I doing wrong? Let me cheapen myself. And so instead of a queen, I'm going to go down a couple notches. I'm going to lower my standards a little bit. I'm going to be a 10 and see what happens. So now, more time. And I don't have enough room on this screen. More time is passing. She still hasn't been chosen, right? Because she got to spend some time by herself. So she says, you know what? Let me lower myself again. It's a 5. Because I want some attention. And more time goes by. So I'm just going to stack these on top. This is just more time going by. She still hasn't been chosen. Eventually, she's going to have to, in her mind, go all the way down to a 2 just so that she can be the chosen one, like these other ones that's over here that she perceives are being chosen. But here's the caveat. Who you think is going out here choosing 2s? Is that what you want? Do you want to be a 2? You want to lead with a 2? And see what type of person is attracted to a 2? I'm going to say this because I'm all about being equal. You may be that type of person that enjoys being a 2 and letting the people that's searching for 2. We're not talking about you. We're talking about the queen in this particular situation that should never compromise herself and become a 2 to be chosen by someone who's out here chasing and looking for 2s. Get it? Catch it? We about to go to the next thing, right? So now, what we are going to do, since this is a live recording of the podcast, we're going to go into the podcast section of this, and we're going to take a little deeper dive into the topic. But I wanted you to see what that looks like visually first. That's a part of my brand. I am Mr. Card Logic, so I wanted you guys to see that part. So we're going to go into the podcast recording part of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause for a couple of seconds. Then we're going to get into the podcast. Then I'm going to pause for a couple of seconds on the end. And then we can have kind of like a little after dialogue, and I can see your comments and I can address them at the end. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to pause and then we're going to go. Okay. And welcome to another edition of the Relationship Gumbo Podcast. I am Derek Jones, your host. I am a strategist and engineer, a mental health advocate, and also a life coach. That's the most important part. I help you take those scrambled eggs in your brain and the overthinking, and I help you rearrange them like a puzzle so you can get back to a path of focus. And tonight, we have a special topic. The topic is don't put your love on the clearance rack. And what that means is sometimes we cheapen ourselves just to be in a relationship or just to go out on a date or simply just to get attention. When we know that sometimes we've had trauma and pain in the past and we know we don't want to revisit that, but we get desperate sometimes. Sometimes we don't want to be by ourselves. And so we cheapen those things. We lower our standards. We lower, even what we do for ourselves, how we dress. Sometimes we want to dress a certain way to get more attention and we know that's not really us. So we cheapen it. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to talk about 3 different things. Tonight it's going to be 3. Normally I try to do 5, but we're going to do 3. And we're just going to talk a little bit about what this really looks like and what it means and the psychology behind it, how your mind works behind this. So the first thing you got to think about is when you're talking about a clearance rack, and sometimes what happens on the clearance rack is you put stuff that's kind of been, sitting for a while and you want to get rid of it and you make it a cheaper price and hopefully it sells fast, right? But do you really want your value and your love and your time to go fast? Or do you want somebody to earn that, right? So a lot of times because we're emotional creatures, I always talking about the feels and how it feels. I want to feel a way. I want to feel held. I want to feel love. And we want it so bad that we put ourselves on the clearance rack because we want somebody to grab us quick. And that doesn't mean that the things on the clearance rack don't have value. But when I say sitting too long, that's you sitting at home worrying about what everybody else is doing. You're on social media looking at relationship goals, and you trying to figure out why you aren't the one that's chosen. When in reality, sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it may take a long time, and you have to be prepared for that. You do not want to cheapen yourself just for that cheap thrill. Because think about it like this. This is where the mental work comes in. You ready? If you modify yourself to be a cheaper version of yourself, that means the person that meets you isn't getting the real version of you. And you end up in a relationship where you have to keep pretending to be the thing that they were attracted to. What's my favorite saying? That ain't fair. Because now, that person, a lot of times people that look for the cheap version of people, they not even ready for it anyway. So either you going to get hurt real bad, or you going to end up in something where you got to pretend every day because you know that they fell in love or they're dating a copy of you that's not even your best. And why would you want to do that to yourself? I always use this term. Why would you want to re-hurt yourself? Because you was already miserable before you even did it. So now you're going to repeat the cycle of terror, what I call it. You're just going to keep cheapening yourself to the point where you can't even recognize yourself when you look in the mirror because you're so cheap. You want a super clearance rack. You want a 99-cent rack at this point, right? So the next phase of this, number 2, is when you allow, another way to look at you being on the clearance rack is you allow things that's supposed to happen over time, you allow them to happen too fast. Because that desperation sets in because you've been by yourself and you're lonely and you just need the feels. And so you allow people in your personal space too fast. And the person who's been allowed in your, now caveat, because I'm always about perspective and I don't want to I'm not an absolute type of person. There are sometimes things happen fast and then people end up together for 90 years, right? We're not talking about y'all. We're talking about you allowing people in your personal space and in your life and in your time really fast. And the person who is allowed and granted access at that rate of speed, they feel like they got a bargain. Damn, I didn't know it was that easy. Thanks. I'm going to keep coming back to this store because everything's cheap over here. I can get what I want. I don't have to do anything. But when you go home every night, you're like, I wish I could find Mr. or Mrs. Right. I wish I was in a marriage. I wish I was in a long-term relationship. But you're out here feeding the people or the person that you're allowing in your space. You're giving them access like instantly because you believe that that's the way that they will stay. If I give them a bargain, they'll accept the bargain real fast and then they won't go anywhere. But I need y'all to catch what I'm about to say next. A lot of times when you buy something cheap, you don't value it. You don't respect it because it was nothing to get it. And when you don't value something, think about it like this. Remember when you was a little kid and you had a toy that somebody might have bought you, but you didn't really give a damn about that toy. That wasn't really what you really wanted. Remember how you treated that toy? Probably stepped on it. Probably threw it across the room. And guess what kids do with toys that they don't like? They get tired of it real quick. And you're like, I just got you that. You not going to play with it no more? No, because I didn't like it in the first place. I'm a cock my arm all the way back, and I need y'all to catch that. Catch it. And keep that with you. Don't cheapen yourself so much that access is granted so fast that they don't appreciate it, right? There's something to be said about putting in work for what you want. I might be a little old school, though. I know it's 2020 and we swiping left and swiping right, but come on, guys. We got to get it together. So number 3, now that we're in this era of everybody becoming an entrepreneur, right? And we're talking about branding. Guess what you are? You are your brand. Even if you're not in business, you are your brand, right? So think about it like this. You go into a job interview for a job that you really want. You're not going to walk in there looking like you don't give a damn about yourself. A raggedy, cheap version of you. You're going to go in there at your best. Because you want to get what you want. And the only way to do that is to be yourself and be the best version of you. Be a brand that somebody wants to be around and keep around, right? And what we do with our brand, when we cheapen our brand, just like any other thing, sometimes you get tossed to the side. A resume might be tight, but when you leave the house and you look like a cheaper version of yourself and you show up to the interview, that resume means nothing because what they've actually seen is a cheaper version of you. Think about that. You will take your time to put that suit on for that interview because you want to make sure you look sharp. But when it comes to the thing that we covet and we kind of hold dear, which is our heart and our emotions and our time, we don't really give a damn about that. We just want to give it away because we lonely. Stop it. So you got to really, and I told you I was going to say this on every show. You ready? My favorite 3 words. Love you more. Love you more than the loneliness. Love you more than the cheap, the people that's out here chasing the cheap for a cheap bargain. And it's rough out here. It's real rough. Especially if you're single and you're dating and trying to figure it out. And I don't know, these people are crazy. I don't understand. Hold the line. Because if there's something meant for you, you got to make sure that when they meet you, that they're getting the real you. The you that you want them to fall in love with. Not the cheap knockoff. So think about that, guys. I want you to really think deep about that. I really want you to really be yourself, right? Sometimes it takes some of us a lifetime to figure out who we really are. But I guarantee you one thing. When you are purposely being fake, I guarantee you know when you're doing that too. Because a lot of us are guilty of changing some things about ourselves to try to make ourselves more appealing to people, like some character things, right? And I'm not talking about, you shaved your beard different, or you put on a different dress, or you did a different hairdo. I'm talking about changing things about who you are, your character, just so that you can have somebody. It's not fair to you. Not if you're sitting at home saying, I want to hopefully meet somebody one day and I want to be in a loving relationship. And like I always tell you guys, if you are not yourself. At some point, yourself is going to come out and want to be loved. But that person who's really you, and you're in a relationship, that other person's going to be like, who is this? That's not who I married. And you're like, no, this is the real me. And they're like, I like the fake one, though. That's the one I like. And therein lies the problem. So I'm going to leave y'all with that today. I'm working on getting some guests lined up so we can have some more flavor. We got some amazing topics coming up. You know, I always try to give you some things that hit you in the chest a little bit. Comes from a place I want you guys to feel these broadcasts and the podcasts and all of that. So on that note, I am going to get off of here. I want you guys to enjoy your day, your night, or whatever it is where you are. And I appreciate you. And I hope to see you, well, not see you, hear you. Well, I can't even say hear you. I want you to hear me. How am I getting all jumbled up? We're talking about a podcast, right? So have a great night. And I was going to say I was going to see you. I was going to do it again. See what y'all did to me tonight. I'm all choked up over this topic. I will catch y'all next week. Y'all going to get 2 more next week. I think y'all going to get 2 a week. That's like amazing, right? I normally was going to do 1, but y'all going to get 2 a week. So next week, make sure you're back. We're going to be on the other side of Valentine's Day. So all of you people that are going to be crying on Friday, y'all wipe your tears and come back and get some more of this information. Y'all have a great night. All right, we're off. All right, so now we can look at the comments. Welcome, Joseph, Michelle, 2 Michelle, Michelle Ford and Michelle Bolden Hammond, Curtis Brooks. Welcome, brother. So let me read Joseph's comment. Continue that analogy. I treated the toys that it took time to build with my own hands better than the toys people purchased for me without me asking for them. My relationships have been no different. I valued the ones that took time to build better than the ones which came easier. Exactly. Like this, let's keep it real. And I'm talking to my fellas right now, because that's the perspective I can speak from. Oh, like it's fun and exhilarating, right? To get something quick, you know, when you're single sometimes. But most of the time, that stuff that came quick, you was like, okay, I'm not wifing this though. Right? And then you're like, okay, so how many times are you gonna really deal with that type of behavior before you're like, you know what, this is dumb. Like, at what point am I really gonna chase happiness for real? And then when you do end up finding that person that you adore and you want to be with, you put a little bit more effort into that. And you're like, yeah, this is it. Oh, yeah, I know, ladies. I'm just speaking. I see you, Georgina. I know it applies to ladies, but I can't speak for y'all. But yeah, we both do it. And, you know, like I was trying to say a little bit on the podcast portion of, like, I think a lot of us have kind of altered some things just to be attractive to a certain type of person. And we knew that wasn't really us. But we wanted to feel a way, and we wanted that attention. And so we was like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and, you know, talk this different way or dress this different way just so I can get this person's attention or this type of person's attention. Or I'm going to go to this place that I normally don't go and be a different character just so that I can have the attention. So what I'm saying is, as the grown-up that I am, again, why would you want someone to fall in love with the character that you're pretending to be? You're only hurting yourself in the end. Because just like any other costume you put on, it starts to get hot after a while. You got to take it off. You got to take the costume and the mask off. I remember one Halloween, I dressed up as this character from this 80s movie called The Last Dragon, called Show Nuff. And I had the whole karate uniform on, and I had this wig that looked like the hair that he had. And that thing was hot. Like, I tried to stay through this little Halloween party and and I was like, I had to like walk out the room and take it off and like fan myself Because how long can you really keep a costume on before you realizing like, wait, I got to go to work on Monday. Like, I got to take this off at some point. Imagine being in a relationship with a costume on. How many years can you do that? Because you pretended to be something just to catch him. And guess what happens, guys, in the real world? When the real you needs to be loved and you know you can't get it from the other person because they wouldn't even understand, guess where you go? Outside the house. So the real you can get the attention you want. Message. So if you know this information up front, make better decisions. Make better decisions for yourself and stop being so desperate for the attention and the time. And love you more. Love you more, love you more, love you more. I'm going to keep saying that over and over and over again. We talk about self-love. We talk about loving yourself. Love you more than the desperation. Love you more than the loneliness and being alone. I'm going to keep saying this every show. Love you more. Sometimes, like I said, it takes some of us a long time to figure out that we need to be selfish about our happiness. I see you, Christina. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, let me tell you something. Let's keep it real. Like we got a little bit of time. Let's do this real quick. And this is the thing, right? And I'm going to go on a slight tangent, but it still makes sense in this particular case. And this is something that I always try to, especially when we're talking about communication with couples and things like that. So catch this, guys. We're talking about a costume that you put on to pretend to be something to catch someone, right? But this is what happens in relationships. And I've talked about this before, but it kind of blends in with this when we're talking about wearing a costume in a relationship long term. Imagine this, and this falls under the umbrella of communication. When you're in a relationship with someone that you fell in love with, but you're afraid of confrontation, and you're afraid to be honest, and you stack the arguments and the disagreements and the frustration and the anger, and you don't address it, you then morph into a person that is predicated on you dodging the bullets. And so you're really not able to be yourself. So the mask that you put on every time you come in a house is just to make sure that you don't trigger the other person. And you cannot be yourself. And then all of that resentment stacks. But you take good pictures on Facebook and Instagram, and you go to all the football and soccer games for your kids, and you got the schedule. But you really still pissed off about that argument from last week. What do you do with that energy when you hold it in, right? And how much of it can you carry before you have to purge it? And that doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's human to not want to have conflict. But when you keep dodging it, this is the person you love and you can't even talk to them. So you hold it in, and you hold it in, and you hold it in. And guess what happens when you keep wearing that mask and that costume and you can't be honest? You can't say anything that's going to make that person trigger into an argument, because those arguments hurt. Ouch. And guess what you got to do at some point? Because it's just like a boiling pot of water. It's a pressure cooker. You got to release it somehow, right? But you can't do that at home, right? Because you dodging. You got to go outside to get that relief. Let me go to the bar, get a drink. Let me sit outside the house in the driveway for an extra hour, because I'm not ready to go in there yet, because I got to figure out how I'm going to dodge this. You're wearing a mask. Who are you? Deep, right? It happens more often than we would like to think. Yes, Georgina, carrying weights in the gym. Exactly. And when you can't be yourself, I'm gonna give y'all another quick nugget, right? And then we gonna get off of here because this rabbit hole goes deep. But guess what? You can fix it. There's somebody doing that right now. This is the other rabbit hole that people get down in it, and this falls on it. And I'm gonna do shows on this, okay? We're gonna do a deep dive on this. You know how when somebody's in a relationship and it looks happy, and then you find out that somebody cheated. And you're like, oh my God, they're a cheater. Oh my God, they cheated. They probably been a cheater the whole time. Now remember the scenario, and I'm not excusing cheating. I don't condone it. But I know human behavior. That's what I'm an expert at, right? Human behavior says this. Remember the scenario I talked about wearing a mask and you ducking and dodging and you're not your real self and you got to go outside to get the relief? Guess what? The people outside the house don't get the muted down version of you that's ducking and dodging. They get the real you. So when they get to see the real you and you're like, they're looking at the real me, it's like crack. It's such a high and that dopamine be kicking in like, dang, I get to be myself out here. This feels good. So you got to keep going out again because guess what? That high goes down. You got to get it again. Because my house ain't peaceful. The other person might think it is because I haven't addressed the issues. Because I'm ducking and dodging. So I got to go somewhere where I can be myself. And so what this looks like is, it's not always cheating. It looks like somebody that has to change their behavior. And now they need to be outside the house more than they're in. They need to get a couple more drinks than they normally get because they need to numb that feeling of not being able to be themselves. And guess what's going to happen on Friday? Relationship goals. I'm going to leave that right there. That's a funny, not funny. Like on some serious stuff. And guess what solves the problem as I wrap this up and put it in a pretty bow? Communication. It's the easiest and the hardest thing to do. You know why it's so hard? Because sometimes, because we're human and we have our own triggers and we don't divulge things to our spouses or our boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, they may not know your triggers and you might not know theirs. And so you may say something like, think about this. This is how you got to look at it. This is a real simple, crazy example. You ever had a friend or someone or a coworker and they breath stunk? And you said, you might want to get some gum or a mint or something because, yeah, you might need to handle that. And then they got mad, right? And so the next time you see them and they breath stink, you might be a little apprehensive of telling them that they breath stink because of how they reacted. So think about a relationship where you might have been honest about something and that reaction was negative. So now you got to dodge that trigger. But that's just one thing. What if it's 50 that you got to dodge? Every week, you got to make sure you don't say a certain word. Make sure you don't do a certain thing. Because that reaction hurts. But instead of you saying that hurt my feelings when you said that, like we can agree to disagree, but I can't. And then you like, maybe I just won't tell her next time. Getting a little warm in your chest right now. That's real life. Normal people, nice people, don't know how to communicate effectively. And that's why I'm working on a project for probably March where I do a boot camp where we only talk about communication tools and that's it. Once you get that down, your whole life will change. And I'm going to leave that there. And I will see y'all next week. Same time, same place. I'm going to put the flyer up for the podcast. So y'all can go see the relationship, or I keep saying see, why I keep saying that? You can listen to the Relationship Gumbo podcast everywhere, even SoundCloud. I got to upload, I have to upload this one and the one from yesterday on SoundCloud, but it goes everywhere else automatically. So everything you see up there plus SoundCloud, everything's there. Subscribe to it. Listen to all the past shows. I think this one would be like number 12. So you got 12 to listen to. So go ahead and get that in your car, your headphones, or whatever. It's a lot of good content. I try my best not to be too preachy and clinical and words that you don't understand. I want to relate to everybody because I want you to feel this, understand it. If you need to get help, let's get the help in. If you hear some tools and some tips that you can use right now for them little tweaks you might need, get that in. And when you do, I'm going to feel it automatically. It's going to make my chest just going to beat a little. I'm like, yeah, there's somebody out there that this helped. That's my immediate payment, but we going to talk about the other stuff later because I got some information for y'all and I can't give it up free all the time. So I'm glad you guys came. I appreciate you. Come back next week and make sure you hook into the podcast. The website is down there below my name, www.mrcardlogic.net. I do one-on-one coaching. I got apparel like this Peace of Mind Over Everything. I got a couple t-shirts I got to design this week for that are relationship catered. And the biggest one that I'm going to push, I'm going to do a shirt that says I love me more. Because that's going to be my mantra for the rest of the year. Love me more. And this one is always top of mind. Because once you have a clear mind, you can make better decisions. So I'm going to leave that at that. And I see you, Alicia. That's my radio voice. So I'll talk to y'all next week. And y'all have a great week, a great Valentine's Day if you celebrate it, and have a great weekend. Y'all have a good night.
This one for the streets that taught me lessons. They taught me about the grief and people out here stressing. They taught me how the evils wanna keep you from progressing. It's people in your circle wanna keep you from your blessings. No talking to them people when them people come with questions. This mama say no ratting. For them, death is destined. Be careful of the people you invest in.